Hey guys, this is Hell Hades. This is a Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, I want to call out 10 things which I've learned that perhaps I didn't know before this Hydra tournament was kicking off that will absolutely change your Hydra knowledge and help you get through this beast of a mode. So currently I'm in the Hydra challenge. I'm up against other content creators. I'm through to the semi-final fighting Nub Raids, who honestly knows all this stuff I'm about to say. But I didn't. I've been watching some of the other creators fight the Hydra, and I've been like, why are you doing that? And I've been asking questions, improving my knowledge. You know what? Because I never really did manual Hydra runs, I set up a team for auto, and eventually I got it to a point where it was good. I never really went through and like manualed the whole fight. And so I wasn't picking up on like the different nuances that you get. So basically what I've done is I've pulled together a top 10 tips to be able to kind of like enhance your knowledge level to be able to beat this thing up. Currently here on normal, just kind of showing you a couple of little mechanics. So the first thing, which I had no clue about, was that when you decapitate a head, see this head of torment I'm about to nail right now. When you decapitate a head, their turn meter does not reset to 0. It's a massive thing to be aware of. Literally had no clue. So why is that important? Well, if you decapitate a head right now with very low turn meter, that's all good because you've got the time for it to be dead to take a lot of damage. But if you decapitate a head that's got very high turn meter, actually it's just done a respawn with a new head really quick without you doing any damage to it at all. So if we go in here and nail the head of torment, you watch the turn meter here on this dude. It's dead. Turn meter exactly the same. Yeah, and obviously now it starts ticking on. It's a really, really important point to be aware of. Timing this stuff is actually like super crucial to get maximum damage away. Because you actually get this kind of like 2 turn worth of exposed neck. You want to make the most of that if you're going to get your damage away really well. Okay, second one, which I definitely should have known. But again, because I don't manual Hydra a lot, I didn't really get it. So when these heads respawn, look at this head on the left here, about to respawn. This is going to be, I'm probably going to get trolled in comments for this one, honestly, because I know it is so easy. But when a head respawns, it comes back with this little blue buff. Now, honestly, I just kind of looked at it and I was like, oh yeah, the respawn buff. Didn't really pay any attention to what it is. But you know what's going on? It doesn't even tell you here. I thought it was going to tell you here. Serpent's will, it's like, oh fine, it's got Serpent's will. What the hell does that mean? It means he's taking tons less damage. Does it tell us in here? It must do. Where do we find out Serpent's will buff? Is it in here? I don't know where we find it out. Must be further down, surely. Like, it's buried. I don't even know where we're finding this stuff out. It must be here. Where does it tell me what Serpent's will means? Like, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. And that reduces the damage the heads take when they come back by 75%. And honestly, I'm not seeing anything that tells me that's going on. So there I am. Yeah, when a head respawns, I'm going in with my big guns, my Cupidus big A3 ability, thinking, yeah, I still want to kill that, you know, head of decay or whatever as soon as it comes back because it's the most annoying one. I go in there with my big cannon hit. I'm losing 75% of my damage just because I don't know what that little buff does. So next one to bring up is against the enemies. Like, enemy max HP is capped. So if you look here in the passives of all of the heads, you've got damage from skills that scale from enemy max HP cannot exceed 10% of the maximum health of the heads. Okay, so when I've built out my champions here, I've built my Husk, for example, with too much damage, which means that I'm either losing out on potential speed or more survivability or other stats that I can bring in. Maybe I could actually bring in more kind of like valuable accessories because I don't need the damage. There's a whole bunch of stuff I could change if I've gone too high on my my damage. There's a good way of doing this if you're an optimizer user. what I'm going to do here is go into the optimizer and show you what this would look like against brutal. So basically in the start, I'm choosing damage mode here and I'm saying use your A2. We're going into the battle section and saying I'm fighting a boss. I can get the boss's stats from the raid stages tool. So come into hellhades.com, down to the raid stages tool. Anybody can use this for free. And then you just select the fight you want. So I'm going to select Hydra, rotation 4, brutal. Then all I'm going to do is just kind of pick the health that I'm fighting against and the average defense. So we call it 2.5 million health and around 3.8k defense on average throughout the heads, okay? I guess you could take just a straight highest numbers. You could be like, well, you know what? The head of decay's got most health, most defense. Maybe I take that one. 4.6k defense, 3 million health. So I punch that in here. 4.6, 3 million health. And now what we're going to do is say, prioritize defensive stats. This is a little button here. Prioritize defensive stats after hitting 10% of the target's max HP. You can put in the enemy AoE damage reduction. All of the heads have got AoE damage reduction, so we can put 30% in there. And then make sure that we put decrease, or it depends what buffs or debuffs you're bringing. If you're bringing decreased defense, which one's decreased defense? Decreased defense, and you're bringing weaken, you can put those in here. And again, that will scale into the damage reduction. I'm then going to give it the same stats I gave it before, which is what this build is built from. And then we're going to optimize for damage. And you'll see here, instead of needing the massive 246 crit damage that I've got right now, I only need 156. I'm adding 35,000 health and 860 defense on my husk to do the same level of damage he's already doing. It's a crazy difference. It's going to make a big difference for me tonight because I'm going to rebuild my husk for the fight tonight. And it's just going to be either way faster or way tankier. Depends what I want to do with it. But it's a game changer. Okay, so something which I saw Nub Raids doing when he was fighting against Odd One. And something I just don't do. Yeah, he was waiting for heads to respawn. Especially at the higher levels where you can get quite a lot of random heads popping up. He was holding his AoE block buffs. Yeah, but equally you could hold AoE decrease attack. And he was waiting to see if the head of Wrath spawns or the poison cloud spawns. Yeah, so he wasn't just kind of like, oh, that's my AoE ability, I'm just going to throw it out there and get a bit more damage. He was holding those abilities to line it up with potential threats, potential enemy heads that could wipe his team. And for him in that particular fight, it was the head of Wrath and the head of Poison Cloud Head, whatever that one's called. Yeah, those were the two that he was holding abilities for. But equally, you might have a provoke champion and you need to hold that provoke ability for when the head of decay pops up. So just kind of realizing what's the threats to your run and holding those key abilities for the right time becomes quite a game changer. Now, this one's a very cool thing which I saw Deadwood do. And again, like, I hadn't considered it. In fact, in my current rotation for my main account, I'm causing myself potential risk. Yeah, there's a blessing, and blessings are very impactful against Hydra, by the way. But there's a blessing called Lightning Cage. Currently, my Cupidus has it for my main account. I use him in Arena. It's a really good Arena blessing. What does it do, though? It gives you another buff. And the head of mischief will always target the person with the most buffs to try and steal their buffs. Now, generally, if your lightning cage, like mine is right now, is on a nuker, they will not have high resistance. Yeah, so if the head of mischief comes after Cupidus for me, the head of mischief is taking all of his buffs for sure. Like 100%. I do not build him so that he's going to deal with that. Which means that he's actually going to have more buffs than most of my team a lot of the time because of this blessing. You can flip that though. If you've got somebody that you want to be the head of mischief tank and you're going to build one person in your team, like I build Krisk in my team with high resistance. Yeah, so he's got like 500 odd resistance. I could put Lightning Cage on him and that gives him another guaranteed buff. And therefore, he's more likely to be the mischief tank. So if you've got someone that you're trying to focus in on to get the mischief tank stuff done, and perhaps you've got Brimstone somewhere else, Brimstone's really important, then I would suggest throwing Lightning Cage on that person if you can. Now, this is a cool one that Saf's called out to me this morning when I was kind of talking about this vid. And it's really interesting, actually. So Saf does do a lot of manual Hydra. I don't really. Saf does. And what he says is he will always try and target Brimstone onto the Head of Suffering. The reason being is the Head of Suffering will do his main abilities like all the time. Yeah, he wants to do them. He's like, let me use my kits. Whereas some of the other heads actually don't. Like the Head of Mischief will not be trying to do his kind of like spread of buffs unless he's stolen some buffs. Yeah, so he's not going to do it, which means if you've got Brimstone here, you're not going to get that Brimstone damage away unless you're under massive threat, which you don't want anyway. Someone like the Head of Decay. If you put Brimstone on the Head of Decay and you're successfully provoking the Head of Decay, he will never use any of his other abilities. You will never get a Brimstone hit away. And it's similar actually for like the Poison Cloud Head and other stuff as well. So the one to do it if you just want consistent Brimstone procs, and Brimstone's a lot of damage in Hydra, no matter what level you are, like even on my free-to-play, Brimstone is a big share of the damage I will do. You want to be trying to target that onto the Head of Suffering. And if you've got someone who does multiple hits on like, let's take my Nephro on my free-to-play, 3-hit A1, each of those hits has got a chance to land that Brimstone. So focused attack, like a multi-hit target against one person is the best way to do it, and slam it on that Head of Suffering. Okay, got 3 more I'm going to throw out there. This one should be well known, but it's not necessarily. If you've got Hex in your team, let's say you've got Mithrala already, or you were lucky you got that Missionarchy, or you picked up a Chemtum. Yeah, if you've got Hex, it then enables you to fight the Head of Mischief. And the Head of Mischief eating one of your team when you can't deal with it is a nightmare. Yeah, that's how Deadwood lost against me. Head of Mischief ate somebody. He couldn't apply Hex because they had block buffs on. Before you knew it, Deadwood was dead. Yeah, so the Head of Mischief can be a real problem. If you put Hex out against the enemy team, then you can target the Head of Mischief with whatever you like. That's a really cool one. Also, this is cool as well. If you kill the Head of Mischief, it resets the turn meter of every Hydra head. It can get you out of massive problems. And again, you might want to try and time it so that, you know, when the turn meters are looking pretty full, you do it. Or perhaps when it looks like you're about to be, there's about to be like a big cleanse going on, you do it. Or perhaps when, I don't know, the Head of Wrath's about to slam you hard, you do it. Whatever it is, you can control that by taking down the Head of Mischief at the right time. Okay, and I guess the last one here, this is probably well known, but I just throw it in there just for, you know, why not? When somebody's been eaten, obviously like enemy max HP is a great way to get them out and whatever, but ultimately if you can get burns everywhere or a Brimstone in the right place, they're basically 2 ways to do damage passively all the time. Every time the Hydra heads are taking a turn and a burn procs, it will do damage to all of the heads. So you can actually put burns on heads that are about to take a turn, and it will do damage to the other heads as well. Passively, it's the best way to free a champion that's been eaten. So there you go, guys. That is my top tips I've been picking up for this Hydra challenge. Come and join us today, 3 p.m. UTC. I'll be taking on Nub Raids, trying to put some of that into action and try to take him down. I've been Hell Hades. I'll see you later.